Hello everyone, it's May, better known as Hooda the Antagonist. A few months ago, I was exposed for having lied about something very important. This lie spanned years of my life, and it hurt a lot of people when it came to light. In this video, I will be explaining a few different perspectives on the situation, bringing forth some new information, as well as making an attempt to clear up some standing misinformation. No attempt will be made to justify the lie or anything described by the lie, and I don't expect to gain any favor or forgiveness from this video. That said, I only ask that you listen to what I have to say. I'll begin with my own perspective. As I said before, my name is May. I am part of what's known as a system. Put simply, systems are the result of intense, sustained early childhood trauma that halts the development of an identity, instead leading to the formation of various identities known as alters. More info can be found in the description, but this isn't a video about systems. Hell, we're not even the main reason I'm bothering to make this video anymore, but we'll get to that. In the meantime, I'll be explaining my current situation as an alter. For most of my life, Lynn, one of our alters, and I have been part of one being, Malin. As Malin, we were responsible for some greatly reprehensible misdeeds. As May, though, not only do I not recall any of those perverted actions, I don't even hold any of the urges or desires that led to them in the first place. Of course, this isn't to claim that I'm innocent either. After all, there are a few facts that I can never escape from. Firstly, regardless of how I feel now or what I do or don't remember, I used to be part of Malin, so I always have to take at least partial responsibility for our actions. Secondly, even after we split apart, I did of course continue to keep the secret once I learned what it was. Thirdly, and this really goes without saying, but I held a rather sizable ego when I still had my platform. Hell, some could even say that I still had it a good bit after, and honestly, they'd be absolutely right. It took a lot for me to be able to see my faults clearly, including refusing with Lynn, splitting from her again, and even attempting suicide twice within a week. Full disclosure, I'm writing the first draft of this script in a psych unit. I share this fact not as an attempt to bait sympathy or anything like that, but rather to communicate that I am indeed getting the help that I need to improve myself as a person. At this point, I've had my full share of being a reckless egomaniac. All I want now is to do the right thing for once in my life. To help people instead of constantly hurting them, and to make amends to those I've harmed with all my venomous words and actions. Genuinely, if you're watching this and were ever hurt or even just put off by my reckless egotism, know that I am sorry, and I am working with professionals to make sure I never fall into those habits again. With all that aside, let's get back into the more important stuff. Firstly, I feel I should explain why I chose to keep the secret. There are two main reasons for this. The first one being that I simply didn't know all the details. In fact, I remained largely in the dark until Niliko, one of our other alters, recently showed me everything. Prior to that, all I had was a super simplified outline on everything based on what Lynn told me. Not like that alone wasn't enough to disgust me, but I was also informed that all was forgiven by both my mother and my brother themselves, so I was able to convince myself that it was a resolved enough matter and didn't need to be pressed further. The second reason is fairly obvious if you think about it, that being quite simply self-preservation. I'm not going to deny that. In the interest of clarity, though, I was led to believe the consequences for this coming out would have been far more dire than they actually wound up being. My family, particularly my mom, had me believing that if this ever came out, not only would I be arrested, but my mom would be as well, and my brother would be put into foster care. I intended to end my life before seeing any of that come to pass. Of course, there was the CPS case, but not only was I not informed of that until after it was too late, my family kept pushing those false consequences on me even well after the case was closed. None of this is meant to be an excuse though, because while I'd love to claim that I would have come clean had I known that all that was on the line was my reputation, I'm truly uncertain whether or not I would have actually had the strength. That all being said, it should be known that since I've learned the full truth, Lynn has been kept under a strict forced dormancy protocol. Most of our system is doing everything they can to make absolutely sure that she never gets to see the light of day ever again. Furthermore, I've taken it upon myself to take responsibility for our actions to the best of my ability. For example, if my brother ever has any difficulties dealing with trauma from the whole situation, I'll be there to help them through every step of the way. All in all, it is my mission to be the best sister I can possibly be to them. Certainly better than Malin could ever be at the very least. Here we have my actual main reason for making this video. My best attempt at righting some wrongs committed against the one I used to consider my best friend. Firstly, the dog screenshot. As it goes, Autumn once admitted to my girlfriend Ophelia that she had done some unsavory things to one of her dogs at one point in her life. What some of you may not know is that, similarly to Ophelia, Autumn was roughly 7 years old when this event transpired, and to my knowledge, hasn't repeated this behavior since. While neither Ophelia nor I knew of these details prior to the release of that first doc, I won't pretend that adding that screenshot was done in the interest of justice. I pushed for it to be added because I wanted revenge. I felt betrayed, and I wanted revenge. I wanted to do anything and everything in my power to make Autumn feel the same way I was feeling. To have the same thing happen to her that happened to me. All in all, I think it's rather clear that Autumn should be excused for this incident, because holding a 21-year-old accountable for something they did at the age of 7 is absolutely ridiculous, regardless of further context. Of course, though, this isn't even Autumn's main crime. That would be keeping the secret for so long. While nothing I say can entirely excuse her for this, the least I can do for her is provide some sort of explanation. Sometime before Autumn learned the secret, she and I formed a very strong bond. Without revealing much as to respect Autumn's privacy, I was there for her when she needed it most. When Autumn did learn the secret, she was absolutely devastated. These aren't my memories, but from what I can gather, Malin and my mom worked together to somehow convince Autumn to keep things hush. I don't know what was said or done, but I have a feeling it would have worked regardless, because by this point, I was probably the best support Autumn could have hoped for in a time when she really needed it. By the time that time passed, though, and Autumn realized that keeping such a secret probably wasn't the right thing to do, she was already in way too deep. She had far too much to lose, especially considering her history with ceramic, and not to mention the whole suicide bait thing. Who wants to be responsible for the death of their best friend? Autumn certainly, undeniably, made the wrong choice by keeping that secret for so long. But I'd bet anything that most people wouldn't have had the heart to do the right thing any sooner. Call Autumn a bad person all you want, but the truth in the matter is it took some real courage for her to do what was right at all, and I'll never let anyone take that from her if I can help it. To Autumn herself. If there's a chance you're bothering to watch this, I know this is likely far too little too late, but I'm genuinely sorry. Not just for the revenge thing, but everything. All the mistreatment, all the selfishness, all the stubbornness, all the constant guilt, and even for the whole Dreamer situation and all the other stress that came from TGD. I have absolutely zero hopes of you ever forgiving me anymore, but that's not why I'm doing all this anyway. I'm doing this because, just like you, I've recognized a wrong that I feel a need to do everything in my power to right. If by some chance you ever want to talk to me again, you know how to reach me. If not, then consider this my final goodbye to you. I hope the rest of your life treats you better than I ever have. Just know that I'll never, ever forget you or anything you've ever done for me.